Wyden, why don't you go ahead?
Mr. Secretary, we'll keep this brief. I want to ask about mifepristone. I was the first member of Congress to hold a hearing on this drug, which now has served more than 7.5 million women, and of course it is used for reproductive health and medication abortion. It has been documented again and again as safe, and people say safer than Tylenol. And the reason that I'm asking the question is that I'm getting reports that you've said you're going to conduct a complete review of mifepristone's safety, and what we're hearing is it's not based on new clinical trials or data from the scientific community, but on one reviewed paper that's not a peer-reviewed paper by a political organization and Project 2025 sponsor whose stated mission is to advance an anti-abortion agenda. So what I'd like to hear today is for you to say that you'll commit that your best scientists, without bias, will be permitted to conduct this entirely unnecessary safety review. I don't see any evidence for it. You've called for it. But what I'd like to do is make sure that it's done right, and I'm very troubled by what I've heard about it. Your thoughts?
You have my commitment.
Okay.
That'll be good science and good scientists.
Okay. We'll get back to you to talk about specifically how that's going to play out, but I appreciate that. Okay, one last point for you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to ask unanimous consent to enter into the record declaration by these kids, some of them very young, who in the middle of the night, we were told by whistleblowers, are being whisked away and the like. And what I'd like to enter into the record are statements by these kids that we have learned about, and also a memo prepared by the Guatemalan government outlining the deportation effort into the record. We've been able to obtain that, and I think it's an important part of the debate. And with that, I beat my time of 5 minutes.
All right, without objection. Thank you very much, Senator Wyden. And we are now at the point where I'll just make a couple of very brief personal closing remarks, and then I've decided, Mr. Secretary, I said at the outset of this hearing it was going to be some partisan battling going on. That is something that's very obvious to anybody who's paid any attention to what's happened in the last 3 hours. There were several times that you were cut off, or I had to cut you off because we needed to keep moving along. And I'm not suggesting that you need to or should, but if there's anything that you felt you didn't have a chance to say, if you could briefly say it now, or if you would like, you'll have the opportunity to submit written responses to questions, which I'm going to reference in a minute, and you could make any further statements that you would like to make at that point. But
I think I'll have mercy on everybody here and let us adjourn.
All right. Wise choice. Let me just say now that senators will be allowed to submit questions to you for the record by next Thursday, September 11th, by 5 p.m. And I just want to say, Mr. Secretary, during former Secretary Becerra's tenure, responses to these kinds of questions for the record were not delivered in a timely manner. And the example I'm going to give you is that on March 22, 2023, he got questions. He answered in February 22, 2024, 11 months later. A year seems excessive. And I'm going to ask you and your team to not follow the precedent set by Secretary Becerra, and instead to respond as promptly as you can to the questions for the record that you receive. I asked that of every single nominee, and you may or may not recall, you've probably already told me you would do that in your nomination hearing. But with that, once again, to my colleagues, the deadline for submitting these questions for the record is September 11th at 5 p.m. And hearing nothing further, this hearing is adjourned.